All right, let's do this again.
Hey, Michael.
All right, so Phoenix Contact, just a brief overview. It's a new line that we started carrying officially about a month ago. They are big in the industrial world, and they're trying to get into more of our space. So their product line is really robust. It's made for the industrial world where a lot of times it's, you know, a lot of money being controlled by these devices. So the tolerances are tighter and the products are more conscious of their space that they take up in a panel on a DIN rail. And you also get some ancillary benefits like this one on the screen here, which is their limited lifetime warranty. This slide deck and Tech Tuesday isn't necessarily specifically about the JACE that Phoenix Contact sells, but I did want to mention that Phoenix has a limited lifetime warranty on their JACE product, which is what you're seeing on the screen, if you use their surge protection and their power supply to power the JACE. So that's a nice little selling point to using the JACE from Phoenix. And then it also, you can see this is kind of the JACE itself. Down here you have a whole bunch of I/O blocks that have been added on to the side. You know, everything past this black terminal strip here is all I/O, and there's any number of combination of inputs, outputs, different types of inputs and outputs that you can use with it. So just thought I'd mention that up front. If we go forward here to the surge protection, the surge protection that we would typically see are these two products here. You have a 120 volt surge protector, which is a PLT SEC, which is this guy here, DIN rail mountable. And then you have the DT LAN, which is an Ethernet surge protector, also DIN rail mountable. And that's going to be really handy if you're doing something like point-to-point wireless, where you're mounting antennas on a roof or something like that, where there's the potential for lightning strike or something along those lines, and you want to fry your whole panel if that portion gets hit. So you can protect it using that surge protector. Power supplies. Most of the Phoenix line wants to use DC power, not AC. There are a couple switches that you can get that'll take both AC and DC, but by and large, they want to use DC. And they have a whole line of power supplies, different feature sets with alarming and things like that. But the one that probably we would see most often is something like this Uno PS, which is a 30-watt, 24-volt DC power supply, simple 120 volts input, or 100 to 240 really, single phase, and then 24-volt DC, 30-watt out. And they're super compact. You can see it has a wide temperature range that you can use it in. And like I said, there are higher wattages at this same line, so it's strictly, you know, limited feature set, but then there's also higher end ones that go by the name of Trio and Quint. So basically you have the Uno, which is the good line, the Trio, which I guess you could say is like the better, and then the Quint is the best.
But any one of those can be used with their JACE to get that limited warranty.
Correct. Yeah, you just have to use one of their power supplies.
And surge.
And surge, right.
They also have a dual output.
Yeah.
12 volts and 24 volts.
Right.
DC.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of different models that they have for power supplies alone is kind of staggering. So they have some good documentation for helping you pick out model numbers and things. But the one that probably we would see most often is something along the lines of this guy here.
They're also talking about the possibility of doing some 24-volt AC.
Yeah, it's already in development.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's important to note that if you have AC actuators and devices that are out in the field, you're going to need to buy an AC power supply as well.
Right. Yeah, but like George was saying, they have AC stuff in the works because I think they've realized that they really want to get into this market. That's important. So now if we get into the networking gear, start with the unmanaged switches. Again, this probably is a model that we would see most often as it's comparable to like the Contemporary Controls Scorpion switch that I know a lot of guys use in their panels, would be this FL switch SFNB. It's got 5 ports on it, DIN rail mountable. This one, the normal model is 24 volts DC. There's a 24 volt AC and DC model available, but the standard one is 24 volt DC.
It's a pretty long mean to failure.
Yeah, and the mean time to failure is 112 years. They like to tout their mean time to failures on their products because they tend to be significantly longer than products that we're used to seeing.
I think it's part of the reason with that limited lifetime warranty.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
their product, they built the product, they're not bringing in a tritium product.
And the unmanaged switches tend to have a significantly longer mean time to failure than like a managed switch would because there's significantly less smarts in a managed switch. So really, I mean, there's nothing to log in here with these switches. They're strictly a way to, bring a whole bunch of devices onto an existing network. And as I mentioned at the bottom, you can get these with PoE built in, with SFP. So if you're doing fiber stuff, you can do that. That's sort of what this model is on the right. This is a PoE model that also has an SFP port so that you could do fiber optic if that's something that you needed. And then you can also see the difference in the terminal blocks for power. This guy will do a little bit more as far as alarming and taking a redundant power supply, so it has 2 power inputs. That's another thing that you see with their switches as you go up from the baseline, is that they have more features like alarming if a port dies or if you lose your secondary power supply input. It can let you know with a contact closure. And then this is sort of a little wider view of this unmanaged product line. And you can see as you go up, there's more ratings for hazardous locations and things like that. But you can get them in a couple different port counts. That's something that you needed for your panels. I guess I should also note that this is a 10100 switch. It's not a gigabit switch. If you needed gigabit, you can see this line will do gigabit for you. For what we do, you probably don't really need gigabit though. And if we go up now to the managed switches, these probably will become more and more prevalent as guys start doing stuff with the ring topologies, with like the Cyber 30 or with the JCI controllers, the Ethernet or IP-based ones. And the managed switch line that we would see most often is their 2000 line, which is a 10100 again. It's got a mode button on the front that's here. Hit it with a paper clip or whatever, and you can switch to a specific mode that you want to use the switch in once you pull it from the box. So there's like a mode where you can put it in basically where it's an unmanaged switch. There's a default mode where it has an IP address, a default IP address that you could log into it through the browser and change up. And then there's some other modes that are more focused on the industrial world, like Profinet and things like that. So the unmanaged and then the default mode are the things that we would see most often. These switches also give you the ability to do like basic DHCP IP addressing, VLANs, the rapid spanning tree, which is the Cypher 30's version of the ring topology. And they're available in 5, 8, and 16 port models. These only come in 24 volt DC. So there is no model for AC. And their mean time to failure significantly shorter than the other unmanaged switches. Still very long though, it's 56 years. There are models that are available that you can purchase a license feature that let you do MRP manager, which is what you need in order to do the JCI ring for the IP controllers from Johnson Controls. So that's an add-on thing. But it's another option if you did want to go the Cisco route, which is what Johnson recommends. And I should also mention, I guess, that these have a full web interface for you to manage them with, and I have that written there. And you can also, they have it on the back of them, there's an SD card slot, so you could come up with a base configuration that you use from job to job and pop that into the SD card and then throw it into the control or the switches as you power them up. It'll suck that config off the SD card and you'll be off and running. And the SD card doesn't need to stay there. It only uses it to pull the configuration in initially. And then a wider look at that 2000 line of switches, the 2000 and the 2100, probably we would see most often, but if you needed to use the MRP manager option, you need to go with the 2200 to 2300, as you can, they're the only versions that have that MRP manager option available. And then with the 2200 and 2300, there are more DHCP features, and you have more options available to you. And if we look at the power over Ethernet options that they have, a couple different pieces that you can use. So if you have a power over Ethernet device that you need to power, they have an injector that you can use for that. It basically takes your Ethernet in and then feeds it out. But when it feeds it out, it feeds it with the power over Ethernet injected inside. And then they also have what they call a PoE splitter, which takes a PoE signal or a PoE Ethernet connection and splits out the 24 volts off of the Ethernet connection and then gives you the Ethernet as well. So if you had a device that needed 24 volts and you had PoE to it, but the device itself didn't take PoE, you could split out the 24 volts from the PoE Ethernet and power it as if it was normal 24 volts.
AC and DC, or DC?
I believe that's only DC, because PoE is only DC. And if we go into the wireless world, they have this really neat, almost puck-style device that mounts on the outside of a panel using like the panel knockout, 40 millimeter hole it uses or wants to use. And then it takes your Ethernet and power in on the inside of the panel side. It's super durable, shock rated, the whole thing. It's made to be on the outside of a panel. And the nice thing is it has 2 radios built in, and both radios are capable of being an access point or a client. So if you had a panel that you wanted to get the devices on it onto a network, but you didn't have a drop, you had wireless, you could throw this on the outside of the panel, connect up to that switch that you might have in the panel or the device you have in the panel and give it Wi-Fi if you needed to. And then you could use it in the opposite way as well. Since it has 2 radios, you could use that second radio as an access point just for your techs who go out to the site to jump on and manage the devices that are in there. And they also have a mesh feature that's coming soon. Because they have 2 radios on these, they can really do a full mesh thing where these are all talking to each other.
That's point to point too, right?
Yes. Yeah, because it can be access point or client. You can do point to point wireless with it. And then it's A, B, G, and N, so pretty quick. Can do 10 clients for the base model. If you needed to be able to do more clients for the access point portion, there's a model that'll do 60. And then temperature ratings, you got a couple different options there. And then again, it wants 24 volts DC, not AC. Follow that up with their DIN rail version of the Wi-Fi. So this is basically the same thing as what we were just looking at, except it's DIN rail mounted, and then it's got 2 connectors for antennas on the outside. So depending on what you're looking to do, this is another option for Wi-Fi. If you didn't want something on the outside of the panel, the full device on the outside of the panel, you could go this route. Again, 24 volts DC. And that's really the full, I shouldn't say the full line, but that's the stuff that we're most likely to see, networking, Ethernet-wise. Their catalog has way more products, and I've linked that here. I mean, the catalog just for their Ethernet products is 100 pages. So there's a ton of product there. I just pulled out the ones that I thought we would see most often and be most used. But the link is here for that full catalog. Anyone with any questions? Whether it be on this stuff or the JACE, like I said, we'll do another Tech Tuesday on the JACE specifically, because I think there's a lot of features there that are not the norm for a JACE. But any questions you guys have?
Yeah, this is Mark. As far as stock, so I would assume the regular Ethernet switches will be stocked by you guys?
Yeah, I have to imagine so.
You know, I'm trying to pick out like power supplies, the 30 watt. And if not, what is the normal delivery time from Phoenix to you guys?
They're based out of Harrisburg.
Yeah, so it's next day.
Yeah, it's quick, and their Harrisburg location stocks a lot of product.
So really, it's still, will they drop ship?
Yes.
In other words, to get off the ground and we start ordering things that we're going to use as standards, whether that's a standard for Brody or not, we should be able to pick it out of their stock normally.
Oh, Mark,
So
we will stock. Mark, if you guys start using stuff, we will stock whatever you guys want. We have no problem with that. But like Matt said, delivery should be really good out of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania office. But we intend to increase our inventory for sure. As we know what.
I'm talking about
what advice we use.
Things like the switches. For most part, we would probably want to stock the AC/DC unless there's some reason that the DC is superior, because that's what we're doing now with contemporary control. So we can use either power we want, depending on the project.
Sure.
So I don't know if there's an advantage or disadvantage. You know, I have to look at the cost. We're used to contemporary controls cost, so I assume the Phoenix is a little bit more. It's supposed to be a better product.
Yeah, I believe from when I looked at it with Joe, the cost is similar for the AC model. The AC/DC model is a little bit more expensive.
Doesn't bother me as long as we're prepared for it.
Yeah, sorry. The DC model is comparable to the AC/DC model of the contemporary control switch.
Plus, it's the lifetime warranty is another advantage if you use the DC.
Yeah, if
power
you use
supply.
their power.
and surge.
Yep.
Right, we just have to prepare for that with panel building and design. You know, I'm talking to Bo
Sure.
already on this. Contacts, do you guys plan on maintaining a line? I know they have a lot of their contacts. Just regular terminal blocks.
Yes, I mean, from a sales point, Mark, this is George, I would like to see us transition all our panel building stuff over to Phoenix. So,
That's what I figured, so this way we can take advantage of that.
Correct.
When would
Correct.
you guys make the decision of which of the multitude of terminal block lines you're going to take for your own?
So we have the guy that runs that division coming in on the 17th. So, you know, I think we should, by then, I think we'll have a decision made as to what we'll be doing. And you're more than welcome to come. That's for customers as well. So, you know, we'll get it. Their sales specialists are really good. So he'll be in our office on the 17th. So I think by then we'll have it hammered down.
I'd like to send you guys a listing of what we're using now and see, you know, what he suggests as something that would be similar, or if he has better suggestions. So I'll send somebody over there a list of current terminals we use.
That's fine.
Whoever wants
To
it.
Joe, I guess.
Okay.
Joe's good. Yeah. Yeah, it's under Joe.
Any other questions about anything Phoenix, since we're on the topic?
Hey, Brian, this is Derek. I do have one question. On the Ethernet switches, to get the warranty, do I have to buy the Phoenix power supplies for the Ethernet switches as well?
To get the limited lifetime warranty, yes.
Okay.
They have a standard warranty that I want to say is 2 years. Don't quote me on that. But in order to get the full limited lifetime, you feed them with their power and use their surge protection.
So for an Ethernet switch, do I have to buy a surge protector and a power supply?
Yes. Yeah, you would need a 120 volts surge protector and that power supply to feed that switch.
All right.
What about the AC model?
That's a good question. I don't know.
We'd have to check.
AC. Other power supply.
They don't have a power supply to feed it yet.
Yeah, we'll have to check with them on that.
Or they may say it's only on the 24-volt DC.
Yeah.
Could say that.
Yeah, my guess would be that they would only warrant it if you're using one of their power supplies, and since they don't make
And the standard
power supplies.
And the standard warranty is going to be at least a year.
Yeah.
Like a standard product would be.
Right.
We'll have to check on that, Mark.
Right. So that's a big, if it's true, that's a big advantage to the 24 volt then.
For sure.
For DTS.
Hey, let's check on Derek's question too, just to make sure what you guys are
Yep.
thinking.
Yep.
The presentation had a link to the industrial Ethernet catalog. I don't know if it's different from me looking on the web. Can I get that link?
Yeah, if you go to BP Tech Center.
Yeah, I'll have this presentation, the video and everything up on BP Tech Center, and you can pull it down from there. And I'll include the PDF as a separate document on there as well.
Thank you.